I want to start off with just covering some of the questions that you were asked by the last council for the Ottawa Police Service.
Okay.
The Canada Anti-Hate Network, you were asked about sort of the information that they've put out there about you. Are you aware if the Canada Anti-Hate Network has itself spread any misinformation during the convoy?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the president, or the chief, as I understand it, Mr. Farber, was on national television advising the nation of Canada that anti-Semitic flyers were being distributed throughout downtown Ottawa as a result of the nature of the people involved, when in fact that was a screen grab from an event in Miami, Florida that had taken place weeks earlier.
And do you know if the Canada Anti-Hate Network's views about you have been relied upon by law enforcement or other senior officials in the federal government?
Yes, I have, through, again, legal disclosure, documents referenced by law enforcement, open source intelligence, and so on. There are a number of pages and articles and things written by the Canadian Anti-Hate Network used as justification for their assessment of me.
And have you ever had any communication with anyone from the Canada Anti-Hate Network?
I have, actually. One of their journalists, Mr. Smith, I believe, reached out to me in just as late as February of this year. Previous to that, no one had ever approached me for a comment or explanation. They were content to just publish things, sometimes with no bylines whatsoever, written by ostensibly no one. I attempted to explain and kind of level, man to man with Mr. Smith about, who I am and so on. That didn't really go anywhere. I'd also been in contact informally, casually with Mr. Kurt Phillips over Twitter over the past several months before I was banned.
And did your conversations have anything to do about the convoy or your alleged extremist activities?
No, they were pretty casual in nature, just about kind of surface level things about other personalities and stuff. Other maybe casual bits, sometimes different beers that we enjoyed, things like this.
You were asked questions about social media and social media influencers and their ability to either unintentionally or intentionally influence others. What are your views on legacy media being able to do that?
Well, again, with seeing the size of the platform that it has and the amount of funding that's being dumped into it from the Canadian taxpayer, it's one of the bigger microphones that exists, and it's my opinion that it has an extreme amount of bias and has been almost weaponized in that way to push state and government messaging, to influence and perhaps correct the way that people are thinking as it benefits the people that pay their bills.
I'd like to pull up POE.JMK701. It's an article from the Globe and Mail. Can you see this article on your screen, Mr. Mackenzie?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with it?
No, I've never seen this before.
Okay, if we could scroll down a little bit and stop right there for a moment. Could you please read that, Mr. Mackenzie, and tell us when you're done?
Yes, sir. Do you want me to read it aloud or just quiet silent?
No, just to yourself. I'm going to just cover some of the content in that.
Okay. Yeah, I've got it. Thanks.
Okay, if we could go down a little bit further.
Okay.
And a little bit further.
Okay.
And then just a little bit further.
Okay.
So this was an article that was published around February 16th after the Emergencies Act was invoked by the government.
Okay.
And there are comments made by Public Safety Minister about that were later clarified by his spokesperson. Mr. Mendocino didn't name any organization during the news conference, but his spokesperson, Alexander Cohen, later said that the minister's remarks were in reference to Diagolon.
I see.
If we could go up just a little bit further to the comments that were actually made by Mr. Mendocino, further up, please. Right there. So, quote, "It could have been deadly for citizens, protesters, and officers. We need to be clear-eyed about the seriousness of these incidents, and indeed, several of the individuals at Coutts have strong ties to a far-right extreme organizations with leaders who are in Ottawa." How many members, how many of the individuals at Coutts did you have any ties to?
Just the Mr. Lysak, who I met twice.
And would you consider that to be strong ties?
No.
Would you consider this to be an example of misinformation or no?
Yes, I would.
I'd like to pull up some of the clips, sir, that council have referenced, but that we've not actually gone over with you. If I could first ask that JMK 000, I think there's 7 zeros and 4. And this is a clip I understand from your social media dated January 23rd of this year, sir.
So as long as everybody just keeps their head, don't do anything stupid, say anything stupid, nothing illegal, don't even speed. Don't give them anything.
Where was that video taken, sir?
That video was filmed outside downtown the waterfront in Pictou, Nova Scotia, where I live.
And what was your intent in putting out that video?
That was the day or 2 days prior to me heading down to Ottawa. I know a lot of people were on their way. They were excited to go and so on. It was my intent to try and set a tone of extreme levels of situational awareness and attentiveness to the fact that there would be a lot of scrutiny on everyone. And so it was imperative that people conduct themselves in a responsible and lawful manner.
If we could play another clip, please, 702, JMK 702. This is a clip I understand, Mr.
And
Sorry, if we could just go back to the beginning. Mr. Mackenzie, I understand this was taken on January 28th. If you could please just watch it.
Please be on your best behavior. And if you see anything odd or strange or makes you nervous or uncomfortable, leave immediately. And keep your phone, your camera is probably your best defense. If you see anything strange, film it.
Where was this video taken, sir?
That video appears to be taken in the residence I mentioned earlier that we stayed at a large amount of the time outside the city of Ottawa.
And what was the message that you were trying to convey?
I was just trying to keep people safe, and again, if they know, I obviously wouldn't want them to intervene into something that seemed, unsafe or dangerous. But if they could, I believe that as dangerous as they can be, the smartphones that people have can be their best defense. They can film, what's happening around them and protect themselves in that way. And if they were to encounter or see anything disturbing or frightening or alarming, then they should leave and get away from that, and then potentially even report it to authorities if necessary.
Speaking about reporting things to authorities, have you ever reported extremist behavior to authorities?
Yes.
Can you please tell us about that?
One example, let's see, would have been fall, I think, of 2021. There was a group online identifying themselves as Links something. It was armed men in the woods with masks. One of them specifically said, this is a call to arms, which, as I understand, is an illegal thing to do. It was very clear that they intended to, were promoting the idea of arming people, arming citizens. I think it was an acronym for Liberate Your Neighborhood or something like that. And to engage the forces of the state in violent confrontation. They were commenting on my videos and inferring that they were trying to connect with me and so on. I found this very alarming, and again, putting potentially myself at risk, but other people that follow me and it could be exposed to this and ensnared in whatever was going on there. So once I became aware of the video, I immediately called the mounted police about it.
And did you receive a response?
I did. They called me back. They asked me, what I knew about it. If anything, I said, all I know is what I've seen on the internet. I'm simply bringing it to your attention because if I were you, this is something that would concern me. And that was pretty much the end of that interaction. I'm not sure whatever took place after that, but.
You didn't have follow-up after that?
I don't think so. I think there was one constable from Saskatchewan that may have called me to say they may have more questions in the future, but that was the end of that interaction.
Were you willing to have a continuous relationship with law enforcement to assist them in identifying legitimate threats to public safety?
Of course, if there was anything for me to give them or assist them in any way, I would have, yes.
I'd like to play another clip, JMK 701. And my understanding is that this is a clip from February 5th.
Support each other. Tell the truth. Be good. Don't do anything stupid, and don't give in to their attempts to goad you into anything they can use against you. Because this is literally all they have at this point. It's couple of sentences out of context on the internet, and an old man at a gas station. It's ridiculous, Meanwhile, the high horse they stand on. Oh, we're so much better people. We're so much better people. We're morally superior, said the man in blackface.
Where were you when this video was taken, sir?
I believe I was traveling back to Ottawa from the Maritimes.
Okay. Can you please tell the commissioner sort of what your itinerary was during the Convoy protests?
From beginning to end, or?
Yeah, my understanding is that you were not in Ottawa the entire time. Can you sort of just go over in general terms your itinerary?
Yeah. So I left the Maritimes, again, a couple of days. I arrived 1 or 2 days before the trucks showed up. I picked up a couple of friends and associates. They wanted to go. It was kind of a carpool idea. I said I would take them. We went down, met up with some people, stayed at the location I mentioned. And then after roughly 5 days or so, these gentlemen had to go home. I drove them home. I'd only intended to stay for that length of time, and then when I got home, I decided it was unclear how long this was going to go on. So I decided to go back a few days later. That's around that time when I made that video, and then I stayed in Ottawa, the Ottawa area, for the duration until probably 3 to 4 days after the invocation of the Emergency Act, and everyone was cleared out of downtown. Then my partner and I left and we headed back to the Maritimes.
When you were in Ottawa, did you engage in any illegal activity?
No.
Did you bring a vehicle?
Yes, I drove my personal vehicle. It's a pickup truck. Where
did you park?
Either on the farm where we were staying, or hotel parking lots that I would stay at, or if it was in the interest of going downtown to to see the protest, I would park in parking lots and that were available as close as possible, and then walk the remaining couple of blocks.
Did you pay for parking?
Yes.
Did you assault anyone while you were in Ottawa?
No.
Threaten anyone while you were there?
No.
Did you engage in violent behavior?
No, sir.
Were you armed?
No.
Were you charged with any offenses in relation to your participation in the convoy in Ottawa?
No, sir.
Do you believe, or do you know whether or not your public political commentary has drawn the ire of officials?
That is my belief, yes.
Sir, you were asked questions about whether you had any, whether Diagolon had any structure. I think you were asked if you had any formal authority over anyone in the Diagolon community. And I believe you indicated that there was no hierarchy or no formal structure.
Correct.
To be fair, you have a vice president.
Yes.
Could you tell the commissioner who your vice president is?
The vice president is of Diagolon, which is of my imagination. He is my sidekick that has evolved over the years. He's a demonic goat figurine named Philip with a very, very serious narcotics problem and time traveling ability.
Do you think any reasonable person who consumes your content either regularly or semi-regularly would actually consider Diagolon to be an organization?
I would think not, no.
How do you explain what is included in intelligence reports and what is expressed in national media and expressed by ministers of the highest level in our country?
It's my opinion that the foundational work by the Canadian Anti-Hate Network as pertains to targeting me as a previously government-funded, has enjoyed a fair amount of government funding to target and smear people that they consider perhaps politically inconvenient or people that just want to shut up. They regularly engage in defamatory statements, libelous action, things like this. Out of context statements, they'll take a clip here, a sentence there, and stitch it together and make it appear as something that it is not. From there, some media outlets, legacy media outlets, lazily, unfortunately it appears, took it at face value, copy, paste, print the story, then which is consumed by police officers, which, again, unfortunately, rather than doing any digging themselves or investigating or asking me a single question, take these things at face value and compile these reports, and up the network it goes until it lands on the desk of the public safety minister or perhaps even the prime minister's office, where they're faced with these scenarios that have no basis in reality. I consider this entire situation entirely avoidable. None of this needed to happen, and it's absurd, and I consider it the single most embarrassing and grotesque intelligence failure in national history.
Mr. Mather, when he first started asking you questions, clarified that you're obviously testifying from in custody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And my understanding is you have no criminal record?
That's correct.
How do you intend on pleading to all of the charges that you face?
Not guilty.
Those are my questions.
Okay. Thank you. Any re-examination?
No, Mr. Commissioner, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for your testimony, Mr. Mackenzie, and good luck with your trials.